From WFRV TV, Local 5, serving Northeast Wisconsin, including Green Bay, Fox Cities, and the Lakeshore. This is Newsmaker Sunday.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us for Newsmaker Sunday. I'm Tom Zalaski. Northeast Wisconsin has a new representative in the 8th Congressional District. Tony Weed was elected in November to fill the remaining time of former Congressman Mike Gallagher, who resigned earlier last year. And joining us this morning, the aforementioned Congressman Tony Weed. Good to have you back with us again. Your third time on the show, first 2 times as a candidate, now as the congressman. Has it sunk in yet, going from running dino stops in Green Bay to a United States congressman?
Well, Tom, thank you for having me back here again, and it has. I was able to get sworn in. It was a special election, so after the election on November 5th, I was sworn in on November 12th, and so I've been in D.C. and working since November 12th, so it is an honor of a lifetime to be the representative of the 8th District, and I'm still in that learning all of the ropes and getting to know everybody in the House, the other members, as well as the staff and so forth. But it has truly been an honor, and I'm really looking forward to serving the people of 8th District.
Was that a little bit weird when you first got to Congress, because you had to fill Mike Gallagher's remaining couple of months? So you didn't get sworn in with your class. What was that swearing in like?
You know, that's a really good question. I get it asked often, and it would be like, say you're a sophomore in high school and mom and dad said, hey, we're moving across the country and you're going to go to a different high school, and they just drop you off and you just walk into the high school and you really don't know anybody. You know, you have to decide where you're going to sit for lunch and start meeting, meeting people. And so it's kind of a similar situation to that. You just have to get in there and put yourself out there and like I said, just get to know people.
And then once you served out the few months of Gallagher's remaining term, then you actually got sworn in with what they call your class. What was that day like?
Oh, that was an amazing day. I was able to, with the incoming freshman class, both Democrats and Republicans, we went through a lot of orientation and training while I was sworn in November. So I met a lot of great people of all of us that were freshmen. And then obviously to get sworn in on January 3rd with our incoming class, it did feel good to have your classmates, so to speak, with you. And we're all learning together as incoming. And so, yeah, it's been great.
Are you still kind of wide-eyed? Are you like, whoa, I know him, or I've seen that person?
Well, it is. You see people on TV,
Yeah.
and whether that's nationally or our local representatives. And so it is neat to get to know people, but what I found is that, there's really good people. And, we're all really just trying to do the best we can, and whether you're members in the House or staff. And but again, just building those real good relationships and building trust with others is really important to me.
You said you're going through the orientation process. As you did that, did anything surprise you about becoming a congressman? Anything you did not expect?
Well, it's really difficult to go from your office over to the Capitol. Whether it's going down into the tunnels that lead you over to the Capitol and, taking a right turn, a left turn, just getting your way around, getting to different meeting points. That's been something, that you have to learn. And I've talked to folks that have been there for 2, 3, even more, that still have a hard time sometimes getting from place to place when you have meetings.
Okay, a question that has nothing to do with the serious nature of politics, but something I thought of this morning, and I had to ask you about this. Now that you're a new congressman, let's say you wanted to go to the Pentagon for a meeting, for a tour. How do you arrange that? How do you get there? Do you walk there? Is there a limousine? Do you have Secret Service? What happens?
Well, if you had a meeting, say, at the Pentagon, for instance, and I have not had one, you'd have to provide for your own transportation.
You do?
Sure. I would have to, either have someone give me a ride. I don't have a car in Washington, D.C., or an Uber or something like that. But you do have clearance being a member of Congress, and you have a PIN that you wear, or you have ID, so you don't have to go through the security that somebody that a civilian would would have to go through. So, I'm just a regular person, Tom.
There is a rumor that you were Trump endorsed. I don't know if you had heard that.
I hadn't heard that.
How much of a role did that play in your victory?
I think it was a very big help. Having the 45th president endorse me, and know that I was someone coming from the private sector, somebody that hasn't been a career politician, that really wants to go there for the right reasons and to serve and do what's right for our country. And so I think it was very helpful. I think he is a great president. He's hitting the ground running right now in his first month, or less than a month in office. Actually, it's only been several weeks. Right. But again, I do think it was a very big impact on my race, and I'm looking forward to making some good things happen for our country.
We are back with brand new Congressman Tony Weed right after this, so please stay right there. And welcome back to Newsmaker Sunday. Our special guest this morning, newly elected Congressional Representative Tony Weed. We talked about Mr. Trump endorsing you during the campaign, and you said it was fairly important, that endorsement. Do you feel obligated as a result to vote in lockstep with him, or do you see yourself ever being able to disagree with him on certain issues?
Well, we have campaigned on very similar policies and issues, whether that is securing the border, whether that's driving our economy and bringing down the inflation that we haven't seen for 40 years. I strongly believe in peace around the world and finding ways of stopping the wars and preventing future wars and, safety and security of our country. So on all the major issues, we are very much in agreement. People ask me about that. I don't think he's a Packer fan, for instance, so I don't know that we agree on that, although I think we can maybe get him a tour of Lambeau Field. But in all sincerity, I think, if there are issues, and there will be, we're not going to agree on every single thing, and that's okay. We are the legislative branch, and I think there's three. I think our founding fathers did a great job setting it up with three branches of government. And, in the legislative branch, we're not all going to agree with, what the Supreme Court decides or what the president decides. Mm-hmm. But on the major issues and the issues that people are facing right now, I am in agreement with him, and I think we're making good progress here in this short time.
Fairly close race, presidential race, Harris-Trump. Trump won by a small margin. Do you see that as a mandate, or does Mr. Trump need to somehow reach out to those who did not vote for him?
Well, I think, he did get the popular vote, and he won, of course, the Electoral College. And I do think that people, are interested in change right now, and they see the devastating effects of, like I said, the inflation that we haven't seen for 40 years. I mean, we're seeing rising prices, and that truly affects those that are on fixed incomes, on Social Security, those that are less fortunate. And I think we need to drive our economy. We need the changes right now to make sure that we're protecting the people in our country. So it's very much important to me that we, move our country forward and we focus on our country first rather than other countries around the world.
Said he was going to bring down inflation on day one. What happened?
Well, we're on the right.
Happen?
I think inflation comes down to it's really, we're spending more than we bring in, and we're at a point now where we have a national deficit of $36 trillion. And if we continue down this same path of increasing that national deficit of $2 trillion a year, we're going to continue to see inflation. And so to me, it's a spending problem. We've been recklessly spending for a long time, and that's why I believe so strongly in finding savings within our budget to make sure that we bring down that deficit. And that's going to be really difficult, but I think it's very important for the safety and security of our country and for people in our country.
Your take, Congressman, on the pardoning of the 1,500 January 6th convicts. Totally agree? Totally on board?
Well, look, that's a privilege that the president or governor of a state has to pardon those that have committed crimes. And, I think overwhelmingly the folks that were there were just practicing their First Amendment right and didn't. Anybody that did commit a crime, certainly anyone that committed a crime against a police officer should have been charged and definitely served time. But he said he was going to do that. He campaigned, President Trump talked about that a lot during his campaign, and people voted him into office. And so, again, I think people needed to serve time, certainly if they did anything to a police officer, because I have a high level of regard for law enforcement. But that's the decision we made, and I think we need to move forward.
Another hot topic, immigration. This seems to be changing every single day, the immigration policy. Are you pleased with what has happened so far?
I am. I think President Trump's taken decisive action, and we had, over this last 4 years, borders both at the northern and the southern border that have been completely overrun. And we don't know the devastating effects of what that's caused, but we do know that whether it's sex trafficking, or whether that's drugs, cartel, criminal activity, that has been ramped up in our country because of our open and porous border. The fact that we're taking the decisive action right now, closing down the border, we're seeing drastic reductions down at the southern border right now. We're even seeing Mexico start chipping in. They're putting troops at the border in order to help to make sure that we don't have all of those crossings. And I think it's very, very important, and I'm very glad that we're taking decisive action.
The tariff question, and here we are taping this program on Monday, February 3rd, and things are happening as we speak on the tariff question. Do we Americans ultimately get stuck with the bill?
It's a great question. You know, tariffs, if you were to sit in, I'd say, like, if you're sitting in a classroom and you're just talking in a linear fashion, would tariffs affect prices? You could certainly argue that, and I think that's a good argument. But we're at a time right now in our country and in this world where we need to take decisive action against those that have taken advantage of us. And you know, from a Mexico standpoint, it is a great tool, a good negotiating tool to use those. And we're seeing the effects here today. We're taping it ahead of Sunday, where Mexico is now taking action and getting involved and helping prevent the spread of you know, the illegal activity and the drugs and the criminality coming by placing troops at the border, for instance. But it is a good negotiating tactic. I call it more of a smart tariff used, you know, strategically in order to negotiate, to get some leverage. And in order to negotiate free and fair trade, we need to get jobs here. We need to focus on our country first and then get back to doing business with each other in a free and fair way.
We have much more to come with Congressman Tony Weed, so please stay right there. And back now with Congressman Tony Weed, elected in November to the United States House of Representatives. Trump administration rolled back former President Biden's drug prescription prices, and also he rolled back the access to health care. Why did that rollback happen? What was not good? What was not favorable?
Well, as I traveled around and talked to folks through our 11 counties, I continued to hear rising prescription drug prices were a concern, the rising costs of health care. Yeah. And I think what President Trump and what he's doing is finding ways to get through those issues, to ultimately get prices down. And I think that right now we have a situation where, again, prices are continuing to rise. Pharmaceutical companies, or they call PBMs, or the healthcare insurance agencies, there's a lot that goes into that. So right now my job is to uncover exactly what's been going on, and our job ultimately is to get those prices down and get them lowered for the people.
I know you've not been in Congress for more than a couple of months now. Maybe unfair to ask you this question, but I will. How much of a role does it play in these drug prices? Are the pharmaceutical companies, do they own Congress?
Well, I think, you know, that's a very good question. I think they do obviously give money to certain. A lot of money. They certainly do, and I think they're very involved in the legislation process, and certainly can donate to candidates and those types of things. That is definitely a concern that I have. But there's a lot that goes into prescription drug prices. Again, there's the PBMs, there's the health insurance agencies. I'm just at the forefront of learning exactly how that all works. But ultimately, we do need to get the prices down. I think we have a crisis, a healthcare crisis in this country. And it's very important to me that we find solutions for people.
Lots of climate issues going on right now. We've got the hurricanes and the wildfires and the flooding. Wisconsin right now experiencing very little snow. A lot of people point to climate change. Your view, climate change, yes, no, fiction, reality?
Well, I think you could have, you know, if you had 10 professors that were experts in it, you might have 5 that would say this way, 5 that say this way. I think our government, our country has done a pretty good job of making sure that we don't pollute the environment and continuing to work on that, whether that's emission standards or whether that's clean energy solutions and those types of things. And I think we need to continue to do that. You know, whether that's, you know, the natural gas electrical production that we have, or coal, or nuclear, and emission standards for our cars and diesel trucks. But we can't get away from the fact that we need to take care of our country and have a strong economy. So I believe in natural resources, and we have great resources here in this country that we need to drill, and we need to be energy independent and energy dominant. So I think we need to be very careful about our climate, but I think we can do it in a safe way. And we need to do that for our safety and security, make sure that we're energy dominant in this country.
So it doesn't concern you, the regulations that Trump has rolled back?
No, it doesn't. I think, again, we need to continue to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to prevent pollution in this country, but we also need to take care of our country. We need to be energy dominant. And, there's countries all around the world that are not doing anything, and that is not okay either. And we have to deal with the brunt of that. But, we are doing a good job of that. We need to take care of this country, need to take care of our economy, but again, do it in a safe way.
In your mind, with the short amount of time you've been in Congress, what are the biggest issues facing people in Wisconsin? What should we be most concerned about, most worried about?
I think the economy is a big driver, and that what affects people, what affects their pocketbook. When we just want to go to the grocery store and not have to spend double what we used to spend, that type of thing. And I think that is the most important thing. That's why I am so passionate about our economy. I joined the Small Business Committee in Congress. I'm very interested in helping out those on Main Street, not Wall Street. And that to me is very important. Allowing for those small businesses, which really are the backbone of our economy, here in District 8 and throughout the country. And I think that's really important that we lean into that and make sure that we allow for businesses to be successful, not overburden them with regulations and taxes and those types of things, to be good employers so that people have money in their checkbooks. And I think that is the big driver right now.
You just mentioned, this made me think of something, you just mentioned a committee that you're on, but you're also on another committee that's going to have to deal with this American Airlines crash. Boy, did you walk into something, didn't you? I mean, are you up to speed? How are you going to be involved in that?
Well, I'm honored. I wanted to be on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, so I worked hard to get placed, and I was placed on that committee. And I think I think it's a great committee to be on. That is really for the common good of this country, to be focused on infrastructure in transportation in our country. And I am also going to be on the Aviation Subcommittee. I'm also on the Highway Subcommittee, resurfacing. Yeah. And so that is a very big topic, obviously, safety and security of our airlines and of the aviation. So I've already been getting briefed on it. Going to go to some meetings here this week and get briefed on it more. And really our goal needs to be, along with Secretary Duffy, the Department of Transportation, to make sure that we have a safe airline industry, a safe aviation, so that people can get from their place and not have concern about arriving safely. Yeah,
the Potomac was one that you did not expect.
No.
That's walked into it. All right, we are going to wrap up with Congressman Tony Weed right after this. Please stay right there. Back now to wrap up with Congressman Tony Weed this morning. You're brand new to Congress, but what are you working on?
Well, I'm on 3 committees. I'm on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, a Small Business Committee. I'm also honored to be on the Agriculture Committee. So right now I'm getting involved in those committees and starting to be in hearings. But if you start at the agriculture, we're going to be working on the Farm Bill. Mm-hmm. It's very important that we have a Farm Bill that helps farmers. I say we want to get the farm back in the Farm Bill. I think we need to make agriculture great again is our slogan. And I think that right there is a very, very big task, because you have things within the Farm Bill. Overwhelmingly, the majority of it has to deal with SNAP and the thrifty food and benefits and things like that are within the Farm Bill. So starting to work on those and learning about those is very important to me, and understanding the interests of our district, which is primarily dairy. Third largest, or fourth largest actually, congressional district for dairy in the country. We make the cheese, so that's a big one. Very much, the highway bill is going to be new. We need to take care of that here in the 2025, which is part of transportation. And so right now, just getting the lay of the land and again, just understanding what the needs are here in the district too, and getting around and talking to folks and making sure that we represent them in a positive way.
From what you've seen so far, is there any such thing as getting together with lawmakers, some sort of unity to get things done? Or is that just foolish talk? Is politics now just simply a blood sport?
I think quite honestly, Tom, when you're there on the floor talking to folks, I've made some great friends on the Democratic side. Yeah. Especially the incoming class. I mean, I'm meeting people I don't even know if they're Republican or Democrat for the first 5 minutes, and I think that's good. And Speaker Johnson said to us on the Republican side, get to know people on the Democratic side and Republican. If they have kids, get to know their names. And truly, that way we work together because we're working together on committees. You know, committees aren't all Republican, they're not all Democrat. Right. You know, and we have to work together to get things done. I believe you can. Now, we may not agree on policies, but I think, you know, we need to look at specific things that are in the best interest of this country, work together on it in a respectful way. I'll always treat people respectfully, even if they don't treat me that way, because I'm here truly to represent people here and this country, and I want to do what's best.
We've got about a minute here, Congressman. What do you hope to accomplish in the next 2 years, your first 2 years?
Well, I think right now my number one goal here in district is to make sure that people know we're open. We have an office right in West Appear on Highway 41. Call us if you have any issues with the federal government. You may need help with the IRS. You may need help. You might be a veteran. You may need help with the VA system, with your health care. We have a great staff. I think we put together an amazing team, and we're here to help you. So give us a call. You know, again, any federal agency, anything you need help with, to please give us a call. That's my job, is to make sure that we have a team, we're answering the phone, and we're taking care of those needs. As it relates to, you know, national interests and things like that in DC, you know, I'm very interested in our economy and driving our economy, making sure that, you know, we, like we said, we get that inflation under control. We become energy dominant. I think that's really important for our safety and security and for our pocketbooks, you know, to drive costs down. I think we need to have a safe and secure country. That's why I believe strongly in securing the border. I've co-sponsored legislation to make sure that we do that and make sure that our border is safe and secure. I also believe in safety around the world and ending and de-escalating wars and not getting into additional wars in the future. But that comes through being strong, having a strong military. So,
all right, Congressman Tony Weed, good to have you this morning.
Well, thank you again. Look forward to being back.
Thanks for making time. And if you have a newsmaker that you would like to have on this program, let us know about it. Send us an email to tips@wearegreenbay.com or message us on Facebook. And be sure to join us once again Sunday morning at 7:30. Until then, have a great day.